Alright, welcome everybody to lesson number 2, which is going to talk about volume and surface area. Both of these things, the formulas for volume and surface area, all of the figures that you're going to need are on the pink sheet that I give out in class. If you don't have one, go to the website and print it out underneath the Unit 9 documents. You're going to need that. I don't have one here to show you what it looks like, but I do have all the formulas that we need with us. So you might want to print that out if you don't have one with you, or at least get it up on screen so you can use it as a reference. I'm going to be talking about those formulas. Anyways, what is surface area and volume? Surface area is the area of the flat sides of a 3D structure. I have flat in quotation marks because if you're talking about a round object like a ball, the sides aren't exactly flat, they're rounded, but we would want to consider those anyways. How I think of it would be, or a lot of people in fact, this is what every single person that teaches surface area uses. It's what you could paint if it were a room. That would be your surface area. Okay? If you go into the State House and you look up at the dome at the top of the State House, right? If you were to paint over that dome, it's not a flat surface, but it's still something that you could cover, and we consider that the surface area. Versus volume. Volume is the amount of cubic space inside of a 3D structure. So this means now that we're filling things up. Kind of like a cup filled with water. Okay, it's taking up three-dimensional space. We want to know how much three-dimensional space that water fills up in the cup. Okay, so for all these problems, they're going to ask you for volume and surface area. If it says to the nearest hundredth, most likely you're going to be using pi. We'll just type pi right into the calculator. So let's take a look at this first one. Here we're working with a cylinder. The formula for volume we'll do first. It's going to be pi times radius, which they give us as 8 squared times height. Now, in class, I go over exactly where these formulas come from. Why is it, pi times radius squared times height? I explain all those in class. So, as far as where those numbers came from, if you want to quickly take a second to label them before you just plug them in. Anyways, let's see. That's pi times 64 times 14, which is 2. Oh, right. Sorry, we're going to type this into our calculator. I kind of jumped the gun there. Pi times 64 times 14 is 2814. If we round, that 867 is going to round up to 0.87. Now, volume is three-dimensional space. Cubes. Cubic. So that means volume, our solution should be whatever those units are to the third power. Surface area. Because surface area is the flat, right, quotations flat, it would be two-dimensional space. So even though that we're talking about like a rounded piece, it's still two-dimensional. So our surface area should be units squared. That cubed versus squared does matter, so make sure that you practice which one you're working with. Okay, you don't want to submit the answer with the wrong symbol on it and lose points. Alright, surface area formula. It says 2 times pi times radius squared plus 2 times pi times radius Sorry about the pause there for a second. Because I don't have the formula in front of me. I'm kind of getting a little confused. Anyways, 2 times pi times radius squared. So 64, and then that becomes a 2. So that's 128 pi. Here, 2 times 14 is 28. 28 times 2 is 56. So 128 pi plus 56 pi is 578.05 units squared, or you could put the square instead. Sorry about the little pause in there. Again, I had a little bit of a brain stoppage for a second. Okay. Problem for you to try, it's again volume and surface area. This time you're working with a rectangular prism. Make sure you use the correct formulas. And if you want to take a second to label them as well. Don't worry about how your picture looks like. Just do your best. Pause the video and resume it when you're ready to check. Alright, let's see. If you did volume first, here's your length, width, height. Volume calls for length times width times height. If you multiply all those together, 264 units cubed. That's your volume. Surface area calls for 2 times length times width plus 2 length times height plus 2 width times height. So 132, 88, and 48. And if we add all those up, 268 units squared. These problems really are mostly just plug it in. We're looking for volume and surface area. In fact, if you consider it that way, you can even do some different types of word problems with that kind of concept. Right? This problem says that a cylinder has a volume of 2034.72 units cubed with a radius of 6. Find the height. And they tell us use 3.14 for pi. So, why are they giving us all that information? They give us clues, right? They say volume of a cylinder, which we know is pi times radius squared times height. We know that because of the formula sheet. What we can start doing is plugging in some of these things and start solving for the thing that we don't know. Volume of, so that means that this is our volume. So we have 2034.72 in place of V. Radius, they tell us, is 6. And the height is the thing that we're trying to find. Alright, so let's see. 2034.72. 6 squared is 36 pi times height. Okay, so if I get rid of this 36 pi by division, I can do the same thing on this side, and I'll be left with plain old height. And that's whatever height is equal to. So, here's the deal. They told me in the problem to do 3.14 for pi. So 36 times 3.14. 3.14, so that's 113.04. So instead of using 36 pi, I need to type this in. So here's what I'm going to type in my calculator. 2034.27 divided by 113.04, and it comes out as 18. Alright, now height is only one out of the three of these dimensions, right? Length, width, and height. So this is a one-dimensional thing. We don't have to mention units squared or cubed. It would just be plain old unit. So we don't have to even add anything to that. Okay, this is a very similar problem. This time you're working with the sphere, so make sure that you're using the sphere formula, and again, 3.14 for pi. So pause the video and resume it when you're ready to check that solution. Alright, so let's see. Volume of a sphere is 4 over 3 pi times radius cubed. They told us the volume, so this is V, is 3052.08. We don't know the radius, but we do know pi is going to be worth 3.14. So let's take care of all of this stuff, right? First of all, if we multiply by 3 here and multiply by 3, that gets rid of the dividing by thing here, right? That 4/3 multiplied by 3. That problem is solved. But we're still left with 4 pi times radius cubed. Alright, so let's see. 4 times 3.14, so that's really 12.56. I got to get rid of that, so we'll do some quick division. Let's see, that's what I'll type into my calculator. 9156.24 divided by 12.56. That comes out to be 729. Now, the last thing we got to do is the cubed root. If you have a calculator that can handle that for you, it makes life way easier. On decimals, I can show you. Click on Functions, Miscellaneous. Oops, yep. And then here you have n root. It's flashing. You want cube root, so you type in a 3, and then 729. And it tells you the cube root is 9. Okay. Hopefully you came up with 9. I gave you kind of a challenging one to do on your own, but hey, life is full of challenges, you know? There's one problem here for you to try on your own, and I'm going to give you a quick heads up. It's a composite structure. So what I want you to do is find each piece individually and then add those two volumes together, just like you would with a composite area. This time it's a structure, so it should be three-dimensional space. You have a dome on top, which is a hemisphere, so half a sphere. So take the sphere volume and then divide by 2. And you have a cylinder. So I want you to think about all that. Try Try this problem out, pause the video, and resume it. This is a tough one, but I believe that you can do it. Alright, let's see. Let's find the volume of this piece right here, this dome. It's a half sphere. So normally a full sphere is 4 pi over 3. But if we're dividing by 2, that gives us 2 over 3 pi times radius to the third. Radius they show here is 4. So we have 2 thirds pi times 4 to the third. And I'm going to go and type that all into the calculator. Again, if you have decimals, works really nice for this type of problem. 2 over 3 pi times 4 to the third comes out as 134.04. Alright, second piece right here, the cylinder. We need 2 pi times radius squared times the height. Again, something that we can type right into the calculator. 2 times pi times radius squared times height is 703. Oh, I don't think I need the 2 in there. Sorry. 351.85. Okay, so that would be, I don't need this 2 in here, my mistake. That's what I get for trying to memorize these formulas. Anyways, so 16 times 7 times pi, that's 351.86. Then if we want the total volume, we have to add those together. That gives us a total volume of 485.90 units cubed. Hopefully you came up with that same amount that I did, because that's the last question that we have to work on for this lesson. Okay, we did a couple of pretty easy things. We worked with finding surface area and finding volume. Those were just plugged numbers directly into formulas. Then we looked at solving for a variable. Again, mostly just plugging in and solving. Not much different. And then the last thing we did was composite volume. Very similar to composite area. You just take the 2 separate areas or volumes and then add them together at the end. Right, we got 2 more lessons to go. I will see you there.